Hey guys, time for a new album review, this time of the new Riverside release, Shrine of New Generation Slaves. This is, the first album that I've ever heard from them. I've been aware of them before, it's just, this is the first time I picked up one of their albums, and speaking of that, this will also be my CD update, since this is the first time I'm showing this. This is the 2 CD Digipack edition. There's the regular right there, there's the bonus track right there, and there is the booklet. So anyway, let's get started. And because this is my first exposure to Riverside, I'm not going to be able to compare this to any of their previous efforts, so I just wanted to let you know about that. And with that said, as I was listening to this album, I was actually noticing like a certain familiarity to it, as well as a very unique style that encompasses this entire album. It's like I'm listening to a completely original band, and yet I notice like a wide, big melting pot of different influences, so to speak, which is one of the most interesting things I've ever heard. But it's also quite a fantastic thing to hear. I mean, when I was listening to the singer for the first time, he sounded like an amalgamation of Greg Lake and Daniel Ginlau fused in just one singer, pretty much, and it's actually quite awesome to hear. Speaking of Greg Lake, when you listen to this album, it actually sounds like a heavier version of like King Crimson or Emerson, Lake and Palmer at times. Although when you get to other sections of the album, it may sound like Heritage. It may sound like the the Road Salt duo from Pain of Salvation. So again, there's actually quite a big range of influences encompassing this album. And this is probably the closest I've ever heard a metal album ever get to a classic 1970s progressive rock album without being a Heritage. I mean, it's still got its metal moments, or, well, about as metal as you can get when trying to imitate Emerson, Lake and Palmer and bands like that, even though they're not exactly like imitating those bands, don't get me wrong, but it's definitely drawing back towards that sort of sound. You got the vocal distortion effects a la 21st Century Schluzoid Man by King Crimson and The Knife by Genesis. You got Hammond organs. You got, I think I remembered hearing Mellotron maybe like once or twice or something, balanced with some like the heavier, more hard rocky metal moments. It's probably, again, it's the closest I've heard go back to that old vintage sound while still sounding pretty modern for the most part. One standout for me was actually We Got Used to Us, which it actually reminds me of like some of the melodies in that song remind me of Ghost and You from the Psychedelic Furs. I'm not sure if you know who those guys are, but they're like this post-punk new wave band from the 1980s. I've heard a couple of their hits. Ghost and You is like one of their big ones, and some of the melodies remind me of the chorus from that song, which is pretty fucking awesome. And it also reminds me of like the piano work reminds me of like Elton John. And this one album I've heard from last year, it was Sceneries by Sylvan, which is one of the top 5 albums from that year. And again, it just shows the wide range of influences. I'm not sure if they know who Sylvan are. I think that might have been unintentional, but again, that's just what I get out of the album, and it sounds great. I also really enjoy the concept and the lyrics of this album. I think they really stand out in my mind. I actually found some really good ones right here. We are stairway drifters made of cyber paper, Google boys and wiki girls, children of the self-care. We come to pray every single training day, looking for a chance to survive, buying reduced price illusions, floating into another light, melting into another lonely crowd. We feel the same, that no one here is real. We feel the same, that nothing here is still. Those are actually quite poignant lyrics right there. This was from the song Elevator Shrine, the epic of the album, just in case you didn't know what that was from. But yeah, those are some great lyrics right there. It kind of speaks to the situation of the internet generation right now. And considering I'm an internet junkie, I should probably cut cold turkey or something like that. I also need to mention the bonus tracks on the album, Night Sessions Part 1 and 2. I think they were right to keep them like off the album. I think it would have like destroyed the flow if they kept them in the regular album track listing, but I'm glad that they actually included it in the album itself because on their own they're really good. They're like a mix of Pink Floyd and like Shadows of the Sun era over, and they're actually really ambient and really beautiful tracks. So if you want to check out those, then definitely get the 2 CD edition. That's what I ordered from Amazon, so I'm really glad I have that. That's great. Overall, I think this is a really great release. The flow is excellent. There's a lot of great musical moments on here, very well balanced, and it's just a very pleasant album to listen to. I really enjoyed listening to this one. I would give it about an 8.75 out of 10. It might grow as the year goes by, but that's just what I think of it so far after about 3 listens, and yeah, really great stuff. Definitely check this album out. I definitely intend on checking out some of their other stuff too, because this band's really impressed me. So there you go, the first ranking I give to an album above an 8.5. That's really awesome. Definitely check this out if you haven't heard it already. It's very much worth your time. This is great. Thank you very much for watching, and keep it metal.